the thing that will empower transformation the most is if you have the tools that are required for you to be the best at whatever it is that you came here to do. Now, if you're like me and you are someone who is dedicated to understanding what makes people tick, you're a coach or a consultant, you're an advisor, you're a guide, you're anyone who is in the helping professions that wants to use human design. If you've fallen in love with the system, you know that it's something that you can study and feel excited and observe in the journey how much more rich your discoveries of yourself, of others, your understanding of the world, your comprehension of what this world is all about. It opens for you. And sometimes it's a little bit obscure. Obscuration was one of my crosses. And when I found human design in my Saturn cycle. And, sometimes it can be very uncertain, this road that you're traveling. Where am I going? What am I doing? Another cross that I went through, uncertainty. But then at some point, the light breaks through. And when I found that light, it was the moment that I had my very first encounter with an other and read the chart from what I knew, and their jaw just dropped and was like, how did you know all this about me? That was my real turning point because it for yourself. You're like, wow, this is really cool. But the magic happens when you can help another person understand themselves. And that's really what it's all about, is to empower the unique individual sovereign being that's sitting there right in front of you, whether it's like this on Zoom, remotely, or whether it's in person, if it's right for you to do that kind of work. And so that's a really special gift to be able to give yourself, to have work that you enjoy, work that is satisfying, successful, peaceful, surprising, work that allows you to work on your own time and in your own way. Most of my day is spent studying. It's researching, it's processing. I'm in the quarter of the first area of the body graph where we're here to wake up first according to Ra. So the quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind. So my mind is always open and absorbing like a sponge all kinds of information and making linkages. And if you're somebody like me that likes puzzles, or you enjoy the ability to see through the ego eye, is what I call it, the mind inside that lies, and poke your head through the sky in disbelief of the ego eye, what I like to call it. You see through the mind's maya, the distortion and the confusion of what the mind thinks about itself. And that's a beautiful gift, because what the mind thinks about itself is oftentimes clouded by all of these shadows. You could call them distortions. They are ways in which we have been conditioned to believe the false narrative of whatever it is that's outside of us that is not true to self. And it's just conditioning. When you can disbelieve the conditioning, see through the conditioning, that's when you really have made something of the level of consciousness and awareness, the experience that you're having in your day in and day out drama, or whatever it happens to be that your life moves to or beats to. And so by being able to find one's place in this busy, busy world, you'll find that life opens up for you. The door, maybe it's just ajar slightly and you're peeking inside. Is this kind of work right for me to do? And I can tell you, I didn't think that I would be a very good analyst, because I would take things that people said quite literally as very gullible. And I believed a lot of mind stories about myself that were not true. In fact, totally different person here. I can tell you 14 years later, after having deconditioned, educated myself, moved through the process that I'm inviting you to take this journey with me too, and all of the wonderful faculty that we have here to support you. In addition, when we move through life, we are attracted to people on our fractal lines. And if you are on my fractal, that means indirectly you're on the fractal of the fractal family that you'll find yourself in when you move through the course material. So you'll make friends or companions, confidants. You'll find your place as far as the place in which it is safe to be you, because that's the real gift about entering into any of these courses, that we all allow for uniqueness and individuation and differentiation. So we're not trying to make you be anything other than what you already are. And I remember being very incredibly worried, asking one of my teachers before I started working for Jovian Archive, before I accepted the job, I don't want to give them my not self. And she laughed and she said, "Oh, honey, I gave everybody my not self in the beginning. It's just the way that it is." And so to let go of taking yourself so seriously, to lighten up a bit, you can see that the new era is definitely giving us part of that gift of being able to see the humor or the spontaneity, the lightness of being as part of the journey in our busyness and our self-empowerment. So in this new era, going through your individuation process is a sacred opportunity. It's a gift, and you don't want to rush it. There's no need to hurry. It might be time for you to take a new journey, and that's what I'm wanting to give you as part of my work in the world, what I've been doing for the last 14 years, culminating into this moment where I can offer you an incredible plethora of material and courses, and you can take them one at a time, or you can take them all at once. It's up to you as far as getting access to the materials. I'm a 3, and I am individual, 3 in the mind side. So I like to get into things and get out. I find now I can trust where the energy is bringing me towards, and that there are certain things that I particularly might need in this moment versus this other thing. So I trust that my students also too will enjoy the smorgasbord as they pick and choose according to their authority of what information is appropriate for them to get into. Now, particularly at this day and time and age of human design being so popular in the world, many of you will have already taken many courses, online courses, certified professional, licensed or not. And at this juncture, I want to invite you, if you would like to, take advantage of all of the money you've already spent in whatever course is it. If it says human design on it, then you absolutely can approach me and ask, where can we place you? And how can I also give benefit, a credit to you for the work that you've already done? It's something that has been done many, many decades in human design, where we see where you're at and we give you the ability to join us. As long as you go through the materials, you gain access to all of the things that you have already taken, maybe under a different teacher that is not certified or licensed by Jovian Archive, source of the human design system. So if that's something that's of interest of you, just reach out to me. Office at Human Design Life Coaching. And I have a very special professional leader mentoring package that is going to be on sale very soon. If you're interested in getting all the things, if you're one of those people that, nope, sign me up. I've got it all ready to go for you if you'd like to. And again, you can make payments. You can just take one little course at a time, however you want to do this. We're here to support you in your process. And again, because I'm a variable teacher, in my Analyst program, you will learn the primary, general, and specific body graph elements related to digestion, color determination as a description, as an archetype, as a role in the world, because this is the way that I teach as well, to deconstruct so that you understand the deeper layers. If you ever get a Incarnation cross analysis from me, you know that Lavina tends to go very deep into what makes you unique and different. And that includes your tonal cognition, or the way in which your brain body system is designed to function, designed to be unique and different. The specific effects of digestion of food or information on your body, as well as suggestions for beginning your primary health system experiment. If you haven't heard about that in human design, it's a fabulous, fascinating area of the knowledge. The whole reason I decided to do my work in the world with human design was because of this particular area of the knowledge. So it's very much something that I find fascinating and enjoy. I call it Thrive by Design, my program. And if you go and look on this YouTube channel, you'll find a whole bunch of extra bonus videos that I created for the Shift Network that kind of guides you through to sample and show an example of Steve Jobs and his design and what made him different and where he went wrong. Really, really, really sadly, morbidly wrong in his human life. And quite honestly, my professional knowing of the system allows me to see that that man wasn't treating his body correctly, and that he probably cut his life decades short. If he had known this information, oh, what a life he would have lived. What a difference he could have made in the world. And yet he died very shortly after his Chiron return, unfortunately. I don't want that for you. Chiron, the 50-year full flowering of one's human potential, gives us the opportunity for a fresh start in life, a new beginning. And the Chiron return doesn't connect to the first part of the life. Not really. It's a whole new era for you. And if you're like me around this time of your life where you're thinking, well, as the age of 49 or 50, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You know, maybe you're retiring on one end from corporate or whatever it happens to be, and you're ready for something more meaningful. This is part of the journey that I want to invite you into. Part of the work that I'll be giving you is for anybody who signs up to my analyst training, I'll give you my radical transformations. Again, it's thriving by design to be able to help you understand all of this material, as well as you'll also get, like all my students have, you'll get the deeper layers of understanding how this works in your life, in our classes and our courses, but you'll get this program by itself as well as a participant to help you understand how this all works and moves, how energy moves in the body graph. It's very, very important thing to understand. So when it comes to becoming a human design analyst, there are prerequisite courses, 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. And then there are 4 levels of training. They are deep at level 1, 3 semesters. Level 2 is 2 semesters. Level 3 is 1 semester. And level 4 is 1 more semester. So you're looking at a good 2.5 years if you were to just slow and steady win the race, steadily progress through the materials in accordance with, well, we'll say that average person, because most people will go through the materials at a particular pace. Some people jump in and they've already had years of training, either on their own with Jovian Archive or other teachers, where they've learned about human design and they're ready to take their career seriously. They want a career in this work. Now, in speaking about careers, I feel like it's a good opportunity to talk about the career disruptor right now, AI. And from my knowing of my experience, we who are human interacting with other humans are not going to be replaced anytime soon. Not really, not in the same way, because although many people may, want to throw out AI reports, why would you do that when you can just go to AI, and ask the AI for a report? Well, guess what? If you go do that, you're going to find that there's a lot of mistakes in that AI's information, because its training data has been across the board garbage in, garbage out, all over the map. Whereas when you come to a school that is licensed and a certified teacher, what you'll find is that there is a structure. There is a hierarchy of knowledge. There's a way of progressing through the information in order to get to that place where you really have a grounding in the solidity of the foundation and a mastery of being able to move through the information in such a way that it comes alive, not only for you and inside of you, but for your client or whomever you're helping to, your friends, families, whatever it happens to be. I know people who use this material not as teachers, but in their career and business, going through the classes just to be able to use it with their team. I know people who get through all of this information and never hang out their shingle, but it makes them a better, as a human design analyst, they never get the certification, but that makes them better at whatever it is that they're doing with their work, or as a parent or a friend, a family member. It helps so much to release the tension from the relational dynamics, to understand that people are the way that they are, and sometimes we clash and you can see it mechanically, and just to be able to surrender to what is and to allow those things to be as they are. Oftentimes it helps the mind to comprehend what's going on. I'm one of those people. I need to know why. Why is he being like this? Why am I being like that? What is going on? All of that stuff. It can be answered inside of this material. And I know if you have ever studied really deep psychology or astrology or any of the helping professions that helps us understand who people are, that you may too come in with your preferences, your predispositions, your ideas, and kind of want to help you wash the slate clean and see this as a separate system, a new way of seeing and being in the world. And that's one of the things that's going to help you as you move through this. Ra said something to the effect of human design being a very helpful therapy in getting in touch with what's really unique and true and real and honest and in integrity about you. That's the way I would say it anyway, my experience. So again, level 1 in analyst training, 3 semesters, how you become fluent with body graph mechanics. 2 is 2 semesters. 1 is about relationships, 2 body graphs coming together. Semester 2 is about cycles, one of my favorite. God, they're also amazing, but really cycles for me, sweet spot where it's at. To be able to understand life's larger cycles is really cool and key to observing your divinity in the way in which planetary objects light us up from inside. The gods speaking through us and for other people to us as well, playing those roles as those gods and goddesses, or the archetypes of the planetary imprints that make us so different and give us the Maya, the joy and the abundance and the sadness and the romance and all of the wonderful things that life has to offer. Level 3 brings you 1 semester, but in my materials, I give you basically the worth of 2 semesters, because not only do I go through the incarnation crosses as a whole, I also go through all the nodes and take you on an evolutionary journey around the mandala wheel. Level 4 brings you your final exam preparation. So oftentimes this helps to develop your skills that you began in level 1. Basically, Ra would say at level 1, at the end of that, you're an analyst. You're an analyst. And all of this other information is how to do different levels of analysis, adding on other charts, other cycles, other people, other perspectives, if you will. So the final exam, some people just don't even do because they don't care about the stamp of approval. They just want to have the freedom to do what they want to do. And so even if you feel that that may be you, my suggestion is to go through level 4 And then if you don't decide to become a certified, stamp of approval analyst, you just don't turn in your final exam to the International Human Design School, and you do what you will. Do what thou wilt with your life, which is a part of the new era that we're moving into. And the goal of our program, according to Ra's desire for the program, he said that we need to create a generation of analysts who see how information moves, not just the surface, not just the, small details. In the way that we are looking at a body graph, it's an integrated surface. And what we're doing is diving deep into some of the more, we'll call it esoteric or obscure details that most people in human design do not understand. And you're not teaching this to your client, but you're using different keynotes, different word formula phrases in order to impact, in order to open up their neural pathways. And I'm doing this for you so that you too can move between any information within the body graph structure so that you never just isolate down on a gate and describe that gate completely out of integrity with the rest of the chart. Oftentimes people will come to my classes, the live streams or whatever, the comments below a video and say, I have X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3, whatever it happens to be, little tiny pieces of their design. What does that mean? And I can't give you, we can give you generalities, of course, but I can't give you your specificity unless we're looking at a design in fullness, in totality. So in describing someone's design, we never want to describe just a gate in isolation, because a gate by itself, it's dead. It's not alive. The thing that comes alive when we look at someone's design is we're looking at a mapping, a blueprint. It's not the territory. It's a moment, it's a fragment, it's a snapshot in time. And in that time, oh, how we can expand and extrapolate out that meaning over the life cycles, not just one cycle, not just the first 12 years, but, the decades beyond. And indeed, it's such a beautiful gift for me to have clients who have been with me for years to be able to come back and usher them through the doorway, or, be the person that shows them what's going on the map so that they don't feel so lost or confused, sad or scared. It is a very demanding job. Sometimes it moves me to tears, not only to be trusted, but to be a witness to what's happening to you as you go through your life and in this journey. To be in integrity with oneself, it takes courage. And I honor that and respect that in each of you, not only my students, but of course, my beloved clients that I have the benefit of being able to serve and support. And you can hear the emotion in my voice. This is why to become an analyst, if you want a meaningful existence, if you want to be able to call the shots, because you're going to have to do this for yourself. It's rare that people are out there hiring analysts. They're more likely to hire teachers like myself, but to hire an analyst, it's not a thing. It's kind of like astrology, you hang out your shingle, you do your work. So it's important to know why you are becoming a certified analyst, because it's just a touch point into why here, why now, why this teacher, why this methodology or whatever. It will likely change as you progress through the program. And this is something that I have seen time and time again, where people are all hopped up on it, come in, raring to go, and then the reality sets in of, hey, you got to study, you've got to practice. You can't just buy the course and expect your life to change. You have to go through the motions, the materials, And one of the things that we're changing, the new and improved about this particular round, this new round and cycle, is that the recordings not only are being refreshed, but you too are going to turn in either recordings live, like I am doing to you right now. You may have an outline, but not a script. Okay. When you're doing your homework assignments, I want to make sure that you're getting the full benefit of the program, so there will be no more written homework assignments. It's all oral, which really goes back to the beginnings of how Ra wanted this work to be done as an oral assignment. It can be stressful to be on performance and on display. So that's why a recording is quite fine with me. Sometimes I can't go live either. And being, pressured to prove, all of us undefined heart people, all of us right brain body system, right mind variables, you just feel like deer in the headlights. You don't know what to say. No worries, we got you covered, but you still need to practice. So coming live to the study groups where you explain or discern and discuss what's going on with your process, with maybe a client. Don't describe their names, but of course, disclose their names. But describing the challenges that you're having. It's a very wonderful experience. One of the things that I had wished I'd had more of when I was going through training is a place to come together and talk about what the work is really about. And so there's a lot of time for that. You'll notice lots of opportunities because we don't put a deadline on your experience with us. You are welcome to stay as long as it takes to get what you need from the program. In order to do that, we have to hold some boundaries. So when you sign up for a class, it's 1 year from the moment you sign up for the class. 1 year, you get to come to live engagements and interact. After that year, there is a cutoff of, okay, well, now you can participate, but only silently, please, to give space to the next group of individuals to get their questions answered. You want more live time in the group? Sign up for another class, okay? The exception to that is anybody who pays for an entire package, like a package of the whole enchilada. You get lifetime access to live groups as long as they are running. Okay, so that's something to touch into because being a certified analyst, a licensed certified analyst, it does take your inner compass, your inner knowing, your inner authority. Is this the right time? Is this the right person for you? As far as there's all kinds of stuff you can find out there to get your mind to be fascinated with or busy with. The thing that lights you up inside, the thing that you could study, the thing that, your mind is obsessing about and you're always wanting to talk about it. And maybe you can't find people to talk about it in person because you're a bit of a loner, maybe like me. And you want to be able to touch into a community that will be able to connect with you in this language, because it is like learning a new language. I've had people learn English just to learn human design with me, which is really quite honoring and a privilege. So your mind has all sorts of ideas or fantasies or misidentifications and falsehood narratives of what it thinks it should do that may distract you from your authoritative process, wherever it happens to be within the body or in your process if you have a processing authority. So do the best that you can. If you need some support or guidance, just know that we're here. We're always happy to answer questions or hop on a call with you if you're really serious about taking the next step and you do not know what is in store and what to do next. Just write to us and ask so we can help you. Tell us where you're at. What other classes have you taken? Are you already a Raw TV fan and went through all the videos? Well, there's a credit for that. There's no way I am going to make you pay for or put you through if you can prove that you have a certain level of knowledge. Now, in all of our courses, there are optional exams, quizzes. Okay. So if you want to test out, this is something that we also offer if it's right for you to do. Okay, so if you're really, you've been doing readings already. I have several clients that are like this, never taken any of my professional courses, but I can see that they're at the professional level of the knowledge. So if you're ready to become proficient, if this is the way that you want to go, we are happy to help you. because we want you to not only learn tools, tips, tricks, techniques, there we go, as far as how to see and speak about the raised body graph, which you're seeing in front of me, holistically. And holistically means that there is a way in which that your brain can not only see the little details, but when in doubt, zoom back out and see the big picture view and not lose the forest for the trees or the leaves on the trees. We want you to recognize that human design is the science of differentiation. It's very precise. It can be very accurate when wielded by the right person with the right other. And you'll learn how to communicate the way that this body graph is unique with each individual person you sit with, no matter the challenges between the two of you. It is one very important habit that I have in ensuring that I run my chart with my client's chart before I meet with them, in that we want to make sure that anything that we as in you and me, the professionals, anything that I know may be a challenge, a conditioning effect of my energy with that person. In the beginning, I would just turn them away when I saw something that was like, I don't want to take the risk. Now I feel confident and self-assured enough that I can help anyone who is willing to come and sit with me. If they want to pay me money, if they want to be the person I'm sitting with according to their authority, then I know that I can help them, that I know that I'm on their fractal. In the beginning, I did not have the kind of depth of knowledge and self-assurance that I would know what to say. I was, quite insecure about this unconsciously defined throat. Didn't trust that I would say the right thing. Used to be very, very self-conscious. Moon is in self-analysis right now, so that's why you're getting some of the storytelling and admissions from me. I find it helpful though to share from my personal experience. You can see that Ra has personal perspective as his perspective as well, personal view. And so then you get a lot of our personal take on things when you listen to someone like us. So I find it helpful to share stories and experiences so that you too can find your way through, to navigate the challenges of embarking on a new journey of discovery. There are 26 activations, 13 planetary imprints, 9 centers, 36 channels, 64 gates, also known as hexagrams, each with their 6 lines, and 3 levels of substructure, color, tone, and base underneath. What this leads to is that there's going to be approximately 1,080 different ways that each gate could be imprinted. And that means truly that there is no one like you, that you are utterly unique and different, very special, very gifted. If you are still listening to my voice, this is something that's fascinating for you. I definitely warmly invite you to explore and take a tour, going on a journey of adventure, learning, and discovery. Part of my Incarnation Cross, what I'm here to deliver to you and now explain. So where are we going in this journey? I want you to have a solid foundation. So regardless of where you're entering into this training program, we are always going to make sure that you are solidly based in the foundation and the basics, the fundamentals, if you will. I call them fundamentals because they're fun. And when we drive deep into advanced territories, even if you are approaching a blind corner and you don't know what's around the other side, that if your hand is being held, if you can't see, your eyes are blinded, if your hand is being held, if you've got somebody with you in practicing the various techniques, in deepening your HD knowledge and discussing charts, practicing the poetry of keynoting, really, reviewing these basics and diving into the territory is really going to help you if you've got a buddy. So remember I said you might make some friends when it comes to your studies. We do our best in our groups to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that if someone is, maybe in a really odd time zone, that we try and find somebody else they're not making it to live classes. In other words, the live study groups are at different times. We try to different days, vary them a bit depending on who's supporting you. And we want to make sure that if you can't come, if it's just, sorry, I got to work, or that's when my kid gets off school, that we do our best to help you find a study buddy, somebody that you may connect with in such a way that you have someone to practice with. And discussing charts and practicing the keynote techniques definitely makes the difference when it comes to being an analyst, a good analyst. And being a good analyst doesn't require, excuse me, that you memorize everything. It's not about memorization, rote, regurgitation. It's not. But it is about practicing and playing, doing readings and analyses in such a way that it deepens your HD knowledge with every single person that you're speaking to. Because every single person is unique and different and special too. And that will give you an interaction with a real life breathing chart, a human being that's connecting up with your own chart. And then you get to learn about certain detriments or certain exaltations or certain channel connections or certain compromises. Ooh, the dreaded compromise. That's funny. They are brilliant opportunities, those compromises. Ra liked them because it showed you the place of surrender. He liked the detriments. He thought they were honest, So don't get too caught up in your scary or, nervousness, because oftentimes your mind blows things out of proportion, particularly during this time when the background frequency is still in fear and still in security as far as what we are all being conditioned by. Slowly, that is going to be shifting. When we're doing readings and analysis, we want to absolutely inform the other person that, hey, I'm a student, I'm practicing. The way that I got through my ability to pay for my analyst training was I put up a GoFundMe. I offered LYD classes. I was about to say guide training because I do that now. Living Your Design, Awakening Experiences. It's a course that you can learn how to teach or facilitate. And then also I did readings, and nowadays you can absolutely do a similar thing. And that helped me with my ability to pay my way through school. And by doing practice analyses, by saying, hey, I'm not able to do a chart reading in the same way an analyst would, but I'm studying to be an analyst. It helps people feel they're excited for you. They help invest in you. All of the people who believed in me and who helped me achieve what I have today. I would not be here if they weren't believing and seeing and supporting me in my journey of my destiny, and where I had no idea I'd end up here, but where the road was taking me. And now that I have so many decades under my belt of studying the esoterics and different ways of looking at human beings, I can see, oh, of course, obviously, but yeah, hindsight is 2020. Anyway, if you feel excited, if this is something that's really fascinating to you, moving you, then it's something that you might want to explore. The professional training and beyond just taking in information, because the technical knowledge, the basis of reading charts, you learn in the first fundamental courses. Living Your Design as Awakening Experience is not a professional course. It's for anybody. So if you're new to this, you want to take Living Your Design with someone like me who is going to help facilitate your awakening by learning your type, your strategy, your authority. And then the other courses above and beyond that, yes, anybody can take them, but you really don't get into professional training until level 1 of analyst training to transform that technical knowledge into authentic practice. So I will explain what each course involves so that you have more of an idea of the lay of the land and what you're getting yourself into, if it's right for you to take this traditional path. Now, I tell you, this is the traditional, relatively, path of the recent years. When Ra first started teaching, it was very, very short, comparatively speaking, because he didn't have type and strategy and authority and the different layers and levels of the deeper elements of the knowledge, like the science of differentiation, tonal qualities and colors and motivation and all of this wonderful, fabulous stuff that helps us understand people. It wasn't there. So it didn't take as long. Now, if you really want to dive into the depths, there are all kinds of ways in which you can learn about human design. You can go into family practice and child analysis and business analysis. And there's sociology and psychology and health system. And it's amazing. So not to get all caught up in trying to do everything at once, but unless you're someone who is I've been very blessed by a lot of different opportunities from life, from experience, from good karma, whatever you want to call it, great destiny, lucky stars. I've been able to spend a lot of my time studying and studying and applying and teaching. And the teaching, the repeating of the information and answering the questions, your questions, has really been the gift that has helped me to be able to synthesize and analyze and put things in such a way that it makes sense to the client, no matter who they are and what they're asking for. I can generally find something of a satisfying or successful or peaceful, surprising nature that I can give to them to work with when it comes to the things that are plaguing you or bothering you. And you can't get to that level unless you know that there's something here or there. There's something everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. You can look for all kinds of reasons and rationalizations for why this and why not that and not that kind of thing. But you've got to narrow your focus and give them something of value, something practical, because you don't have, until the end of the day to be able to talk to them. In the beginning, I would have like 4-hour readings because, practicing and defined ego manifestors keep asking. I'm going to keep answering until I run out of energy, not knowing when enough is enough, but also someone to be able to talk to about the love of my life, this fantastic system that I feel so blessed to be a part of the industry to help mold and shape the future development of the people that can take up, raw standard and continue in the spread of the information. If he lit the fire and that candle, it still burns in each and every one of us to be able to help humanity live in a better alignment and a higher accordance with their full divinity and differentiation. So let's talk about the paths of professionalism. First things first, you're here at the professional analyst level. Okay, so I am teaching you to get to the place where you can do individual rave analysis, where you can do relationship analysis, we call it connections, cycles. So there are 4 basic cycles plus the annual life cycles. That's your bread and butter. Annual life cycles are the most important cycle to get after your foundation analysis. It's not something I talk about to many people very often because it is the most involved and the most difficult analysis to do, I'll tell you. And that's why it's your homework assignment for that semester when it comes to cycles. But long story short, an incarnation cross analysis. Those are fun. Those are really fun. If you want to get a good picture of what somebody's life, their purpose, their fulfillment of being, why they're here, what's it all for, that one's really sweet. And it brings a lot of resolution to the questions, the confusions, the doubts, the challenges, the things that keep people up at night, when they're having a really difficult time of it. I know, I see it, not just in me, but also the difficulty in humanity, what people are going through. And to just offer a bit of compassion, some comfort, some solace, and not blowing wind up anybody's skirt. You're looking at it in their design. You're seeing the difficulty. You're describing the challenges, and you're giving them their authority, their ability to make the decision for themselves rather than telling them what to do. So an analyst is the primary human design professional that we have. It's where everything, folds around, you could say. You could see it's right there in the middle. But if you want to start at the beginning, and you do need to, living your design, like I mentioned, ABCs, then next, and rave cartography. And that will take you into living your design guide training. Now, I do highly suggest if you need to work and you want to be the best analyst that there is, if you need to make money sooner rather than later, the Living Your Design Guide is the shortest and least expensive way to become a certified human design professional. Then you can guide people through their experiment regularly and do this class, a beautiful class, over and over again to where you really nail the basics. It's wonderful. So I highly recommend that, especially if you need to be making money while you're, paying for your analyst training. It's a great way to make a living. And then you have all these other things I mentioned. I happen to be here, a professional teacher level. That's my sweet spot because it's in my life's work. It's in my cross. Love doing that. All right, so let's take a look at what each of these courses have in store. Human design has something we call auric types, aura types. There are 4 basic aura types, of which there are many subtypes. Okay, for the most part, all the solar types all have subtypes. So we have types, strategy, and authority both in Living Your Design and Living Your Design Guide. The difference is in Guide, we're teaching you how to be able to get the information across to others, all the different questions. Whereas when you first go through Guide or Living Your Design, before you become a guide, you're basically learning for yourself. Maybe if you're lucky and you're familiar with the information or interested about others, you're looking at your friends and family at the same time. So that's definitely something that you want to start with. Origin of human design, synthesis, and the beginnings of chart analysis. You find that in Rave ABCs. Then we have circuitry, the combination of gates that become channels. Channels become circuitry, the life force in the design. And we have hexagram structure, also known as gates. So that we find in the beginnings of that in ABCs as a preview, as a laying the foundation for what you'll go deeper into when you get to Rave cartography, where you start to learn the biology of the centers. And you're also going to learn about deeper layers or levels of channel descriptions. Then we also talk about profile analysis at a pretty deep level. All this information wrapped up in a pretty tiny bow in order for you to start to work with yourself and also maybe your children or your friends and family. However, if you want to start doing this as work, the next, like I mentioned, we recommend you go into guide training if it's right for you to do. Some people do it at the same time as they do their analyst training because it's not that hard to do. If you have lots of time and energy, and of course you've got the money, don't stress yourself out trying to pile up too much before you actually do the work and see that you enjoy doing this work. Now I'll tell you, let me go back to that real quick before I go into analyst training. Sometimes, like I mentioned, people will come into this material and they won't ever teach an LYD class. They might try, they might fail because maybe they're not good at marketing, or maybe whatever the case may be, it just didn't line up. It wasn't right timing. Maybe they were pushing too hard and they just weren't ready yet. A lot of people come here and they're like, I'm not ready to do that yet. I need more information. And so in that respect, going into, I need more information, analyst training is where it's at, because then we get to this place of going into the I Ching, the gate and full line descriptions. That's professional level 1. There's a big, thick book. I don't have it close to me, but it's the Line Companion. And that's our text for that particular year of training, if you wanted to take a year. Then we go into planetary cycles and relationships. And that's where we go much deeper into the planets. Although you go into planets in level 1, absolutely. I have fascinating information in store for you. The ways in which we can describe gates and lines. There's so many layers and layers and layers of keynotes depending on what context you're speaking to a person in. And Once you see this stuff, you will never unsee it. So then any movies, any TV, any news or conversations, you're always going to be hearing keynote speaking and wondering, well, if your mind works like me and you're quite fascinated by human design, you can't unsee what you see when you learn this information. And it's quite fun and fabulous because it's part of your study. So, but then when we get to level 2, we'll go deeper into the planets when it comes to the cycles of one's life experience and how these messengers of the gods connect up with you. They come through people, they come through the life experience, the general quality of the environment that you're stepping through. Lots of wonderful tips and tricks and techniques I have in store for you, as well as examples of how to do this work, how you might do this work. Incarnation crosses in level 3 helps us to understand the individual cosmology of a being, and that why are they here? What is it all for? That purpose for living and for being. Why are we here? What are we doing? What is this life all about? Wonderful experience, a deep, profound experience. When you take that incarnation cross, the sun, earth on either sides, and you drop it into the fertile soil of the nodes of the moon. And you see the path that you're walking, the road that you're traveling, the people that you're designed to meet, the way that you're designed to see. It's just an incredible opening up of one's ability to comprehend the nature of one's reality, I find. Beautiful gift. Not only for oneself, but also as you go through this, you'll do your own incarnation cross analysis, but you'll also be able to do that for anyone. Why is my child the way that they are? So defiant, cross of defiance. Love that one. Someone tried to get me to adopt their defiance or take care of them at one point. It's definitely a very interesting dynamic to see the connectivity that you have with another, as well as the reasons why we are recognized. I find it fascinating to look at different famous people when they're in the news, maybe like as an example, David Wilcock, you might know of him, died recently. And there's a whole big, conspiracy about how he died and why he died and what's really going on there. But I remember going to a lightning in a bottle back in 2015 where I was channeling and on stage and everything. And my husband and we went and watched one of his talks. And my husband has all of his books and, heard of this man and knew that he was a manifester. But then when you really take a look at the life and the cross and the cycles, you start to see pictures and you start to see people recognizing that man for really what he was doing, his mission and who he was, and all of this wonderful, it validates itself in the life, the system, time and time and time again. And it's the most incredible thing to be able to witness the beauty and wonderment and awe of a person living their life either on purpose or maybe unaware, second lines do that, and completely on track, peaceful. Or they could be angry. Now, if you watch David Wilcock's stuff, like him or not, he had this character that he would put on called Angry Daddy. And I thought it was just so hilarious, using his anger manifestor costume. I don't know if he knew his human design. I would imagine he came across it at some point. But just a precious gift, to be able to witness a little bit, peek into the life mechanics and workings. It's like if you ever played video games. I did when I was a kid, even a little bit when I was in my 20s. If you ever had one of those manuals that Oblivion was one of the games that I used to love to play. And I got this manual, the secret key code of like what to do when you're freaking lost, you don't know what you're doing and where you're going and all that stuff. Yeah, that book, Human Design, is that book, but for life, for humanity, if it's right for you to be one of those guys that, wants to geek out like me about what all this is about, then you're in the right place. Level 4 is mentoring. It's how to do the work of an analyst and not get burnt out. We're on a 4th line day as I record this. And 4th lines do have to be careful about burning out. You know, I remember that David Wilcock not only used it at 2-4, but he was fours underneath the color level on the personality side. And on the personality side, the color level, they will tend to ignore their body to the detriment of their health. And, you know, it's always about taking care of the other instead in an unhealthy way, you know, out of fear. You know, maybe it's fear of belonging or wanting to prove one's value or worth, or whatever the case may be. But just to know yourself so deeply and thoroughly and clearly that you avoid as much as possible the missteps along the way that cause you to damage yourself instead of, you know, taking good care of yourself so that you can do the work as a clean instrument. That's one of the things that I hope for you in going through these courses with me is that you study, you practice, you learn, you apply, you master yourself first, and then you can work with others, you know? Um, Sometimes it takes cycles of oops, mistakes. That's where my Chiron is trial and error as far as the planetary asteroid and the healing of the wounding of what led me to think that I wasn't good enough, that no one loved me, that I couldn't, you know, do anything right. All the mistakes that I made in the first part of my life. Now coming to this acceptance, this deep acceptance of the fact that mistakes are what they are. It is what it is. And it is the way through to be able to be you if you've got a design like this. So I encourage you and I honor you in your process of going through this at whatever level and speed is correct for you rather than thinking that you have to hurry or rush or keep up. I remember going through this and needing a break in the beginning. Um, a couple of times and I switched teachers. I had like 3 or 4 different teachers just for my analyst training, not to mention, you know, guide training and family practice and child and all my professional teacher work and cosmology and consultant. I did all of these and got to the level of teaching for years at some of these levels. So what I want you to know is that you don't have to hurry. There is no deadline. Your life will be what it is. And if you push and force, oftentimes it makes stress, exacerbates one's dis-ease or ill well-being rather than encouraging the full flowering of your human potential. Like a cocoon, you know, has that waiting time where the caterpillar is turning into the butterfly before it comes out. We can't force that flowering to happen. So particularly if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 20s, my goodness, lucky you finding this material at your age. But if you're younger, don't rush it. Don't worry, don't push, don't hurry, don't force. Not to say that the older people can't absolutely, like I mentioned, if you're ready to shift into a meaningful career, tons of people do this as either a side thing while they scale back on their job that they hate, that they really are frustrated with, or angry, or disappointed, or bitter, or whatever. And by getting to that place where you are ushering in the new world with your fractal family, where you are living with integrity, where you are gaining your sovereignty, whatever level you are ready to be a part of this new era, this new age and day that we're moving into. You don't have to make the mind decision be the reason that you're doing any of this. You can just follow the body to make it very, very simple, so easy. Follow the body. When you follow your body's compass, your internal navigation system, what happens is that life slows down. Well, for me anyway, I'm an emotional, basic, wide split definition projector. So I was living on way too much speed. And now my life moves a lot slower. And I don't force in the same way. If I do, I will feel it and then I will have to get back to me. by meditating, or I have this Soul Tech lounge, which has a magnet in the chair. Can't get them anymore, unfortunately, but I plug in sound or music or hertz, something, to be able to get into state. I'm a feeling cognition. So frequency is my thing, sound. And sound is the tool that I use in communication with my clients in order to help them feel better about what they're experiencing and what they're going through. A lot of times they come to me because they want to get out of a horrible experience, relationship, job, whatever it is, because of my design. Now, you're going to have your own way. And these different places that you're going into in the professional training academy, each one gives you a different avenue of working with a different subset of clients who are interested or fascinated in whatever area of the knowledge that you too are interested or fascinated in. So, like as an example, you're not going to go and be an entrepreneur if you don't love business, being in business for yourself, being your own boss and that kind of thing. You're not going to like want to go to a child development analyst or a family practice analyst if you don't have kids. It's not the thing. So my suggestion, always start with a solid foundation. I already gave you my recommendation of, hey, if you need to work the guide training, analyst training, if you're ready to really take your career seriously. And then all of these other things are things that you can take concurrently or down the road, but you won't get your certification. If you're wanting the stamp of approval, you won't get the certification until after you finish level 4. Okay, so even if you finish some of these other trainings that take a lot less time, you won't get that certification until you finish your basic professional analyst training. So I hope that that's clear enough there. Your analyst certification. I do not certify you. You are going to be certified by the people who are in charge of holding that standard of certification. All of us who are teachers, and there's not that many in the world, relatively speaking, who are licensed and certified like I am. With the diversity of the level of education and knowledge, definitely it's quite a small few. But all of us, regardless at whatever level we are teaching analysts, we are authorized to create our own and encouraged, in fact, by the manual, the teacher's manual, to make our own materials. We have to. It isn't given. You can't buy it. Make your own materials, and then also what do you want to put in those courses? What do you want to teach? There's definitely layers and levels that are required. You've got manuals from raw that you're going to need to obtain. You're going to need to read. If you don't like reading, this is probably not necessarily the course for you unless you don't mind obtaining audios and listening to the audios. Personally, for me, I would listen to audios over and over and over and over and over again. And oftentimes at night when I was sleeping, just trying to get in this, because it's a lot of information, trying to get a mastery of and a comprehension of the information. That's an option as well. It's more difficult and it's more expensive because the audios or webinars, they're not as inexpensive as buying the books. Okay, so just so you know. In order to express the poetry of keynoting in context with the body graph, it takes not only an ability to love information, helping others focus, the quality of attention, but also a trust in yourself and in life, because life is what brought that person to you. As much as your mind might say, I did this myself and I, got this person to come to me. I magnetized, I attracted. Nah, life did that, and becoming fluent and articulate in the multiple layered language of the Rave body graph as Ra laid it out requires practice. And this is what the transformations that matter, that really matter, requires that you live this knowledge first and foremost, that you have the capability of being your own authority while at the same time you're learning through oral practice and play to become that way of the mastery of the knowledge living through you. It's a lived, breathed experience. And when you see the body graph in motion, it's always in movement. What you'll find, it's not a fixed moment in time. Every single body graph shows us that point of birth and then 3 months before. But when we go into the knowledge and get close up into a little piece, we're seeing the not self if we don't zoom back out to have a synthesis of the perpetual motion of what this body graph is telling us. So Ra would say to look at a body graph as if you were seeing them as a child, and then see what happened to them as a child. Because we know through our type, strategy, authority centers of living your design, we use that knowledge quite a bit to help people understand and for us to get the foundation of what's going on in that person's life. Type is always, always, always a constant throughout. So by using type, we give the person a strategy. We see their self and not self, their on track or their off track, their aligned or misaligned energetics. And we can use what we know of the body graph to help lay the frame for them to be self-aware. And that really, truly can be what is infinitely rewarding, to see somebody wake up to the potential of their own divinity and that self-awareness, self-consciousness. Example, before I became really not only invested, but well-versed in human design, I would say that I was definitely someone who could be considered to be insane, as in this mind did not hear what people were saying. It heard things through a skewed lens and perspective. My diagnosis was bipolar, type, whichever one is the worst one. I can't remember which, but bipolar, also to be somebody who is on the spectrum of autistic, levels. And by changing my diet, by deconditioning, and coming to this place of self-realization, I can now still see the challenges and the distortions of the shadow state mind, getting caught up in, let's say, a really funky day where there's serious transits. If you don't know about algol, people losing their heads right now, this past weekend was kind of a difficult one. And despite that, I can now see the challenges both within my own mind and in another in order to avoid horrendous, meltdowns like I used to get, horrendous fights. It's an incredible place to be when you get to that level of maturity where you don't have to, my mind says, that's not the right, it feels language. It feels like the way that this mind can identify with what's happening. Yes, it's still slower because I'm basic split. I need some time to process things. But it feels like I am a radically and new, totally different person than what I was back in 2011, 10, 9 for sure. At that level, 2008, I was ready to suicide. All I could do was see myself throwing myself off the top of a building, a condo, where we lived. And it's not even in my mind at all, despite the fact that I have gone through some really serious health challenges where the body wouldn't even move, tears sliding from my eyes, recognizing why people would want to be released from the pain of existence. Like, why would you want to die? How could you take the most sacred gift you've been given and end it? As somebody who has been hospitalized for attempted suicide, I know what it's like to go through the difficulties of being human. But now with this gift of individuation and divine difference that we can see both clearly inside of our own unique sovereign beings, as well as an analyst seeing it in another. It is the most transformative gift I can say that I have been through personally, that I would love for people to be able to go through too, if it's right for you to do, and only if it's right for you to do. So when it comes to these 4 levels of training, they are beautiful, beautiful ways in which you go through your own unwrapping of the gift that you've been given of yourself and your divinity, and an unraveling of the not self, the challenges, the trials, the upsets, that when you start to look at your cycles and the people in your life, when you start to see how they were doing the best that they could with what they had, if you went through a really difficult upbringing, that there's no more blame, and certainly no shame, guilt, fault, regret, or any self-recriminations when you see the hand you've been dealt and the life that you've lived. You don't have to worry about that so much anymore. Yes, you'll still have these melts of the softening, of the crystallization, of the conditioned not self wounding. You'll still have these releases, the shattering, we call it, or Rob would call it, the shattering of the not self. It's almost like you have to deconstruct your mental reality and build it back up in a healthful way. And that takes time. It takes a lot of courage. It takes the depth and the gift of you being yourself, for you, generator, for others, projector, to initiate your impact in the world, manifester, and to reflect the gorgeous light of awareness and judgment and observation and objectivity, reflector. It takes so much to be able to get to this place of honoring and respecting yourself unconditionally. And that's all awakening is, the unconditional love of self. And to be able to give our unique differentiated perspective to an other without agendas, the not self agendas of manipulating and distorting and all of that stuff. It's a beautiful place to be able to do one's work in the world. It begins the moment that you're ready to sign up and join us on the student's journey. We will teach you how to do comprehensive analysis readings at many different levels, what you'll encounter on the journey, common roadblocks, common challenges, observing the personal transformation, not only of yourself, but your former fellow students who will become former colleagues, and then maybe someday partners or allies. Depends on what's in store for you. It's fun for me to see the people that have joined me on the journey collaborating and going off and creating, or being hired at different levels of the different institutions that I've also worked for. The deepening of the knowledge, your knowledge, is something that you will have to put the time in and the practice in order to analyze charts. Practice, 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 practice the way in which you communicate to others. So I find, if I remember what it was like describing something and then saying, and does that resonate with you? And checking in to see. And they might describe that thing that I was describing, or they might go, well, is it this? And they'll describe something else that my mind will go, oh, I'm linking it to this thing. So I'll say, well, it sounds like you're talking about this over here. And that's the dynamic dance of being an analyst who's learning in partnership with their client or students, if you start to teach at the level of whatever knowledge that you're learning. And I love that. I love taking both the technical language or knowledge and the art of synthesizing and bringing it together to perform and teach you how to do comprehensive analysis readings. Now, There are many, many, many different ways to read a chart. Many. And if you wanted to learn, about your chart with me, I could do 10 sessions of an hour each with you, and we could go through all different kinds of aspects of the knowledge. I am not kidding. There's so many different readings we could do. There's, besides all the life cycles and the relationship and your individual design, there's the incarnation cross. We could go into your dreams. We could look at your awakening. We could look at your money lines. We could look at your profit potentials. We could look at your design and business in a small group versus a large group versus as an entrepreneur being your own boss. I mean, there are so many different ways we can look at a person's chart. Ideally, you take it on, especially if you're a pure generator, one thing at a time. Okay. If you're a projector, do it one person at a time. I found that over the deconditioning that I was able to finally focus on one person and listen to what they were saying. Before I deconditioned, I could not even listen to my beautiful, precious baby daughter without tuning her out, or my now husband, tuning them out, because I'm thinking about all these other things. Whereas when I'm on with a client, I can focus. I can do the thing that I came here to do: focus, penetrate, absorb, advise, and guide. As a projector, I am the advisor who can guide. Now, to do this work, it is a practice, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You're already perfect. Your process is perfect as it is, and it's becoming more so wherever you're at in this level of the knowledge and on the journey. It just takes time, and it takes, aligning with your design. So let's talk about seeking to trigger the inner connection of that person with the energy of their body, their vehicle. Our task as human design analysts is to help that person self-realize or recognize or respond or whatever it is that their design is here for. So we speak to them and treat them the way that they were designed to be treated, not the way that we want to be treated, but the way that they were designed to be treated. And I find that that's half the battle. Okay. RAM stands for RAVE, the human design body graph. It's called a RAVE body graph, RAVE analysis method, where we are starting with an introduction, going through the definition, transition, openness, and then ending with profile. And that's your basic foundation analysis. Now, at different levels of the knowledge, some people will stay very much surface. I know people at the top of the hierarchy that don't go into reading lines, period, in a foundation analysis. For me, that would not be good enough because I personally like a lot of detail, and that's just me. I wouldn't be happy with that. So you meet the client where they're at. If they've already been studying for 2 years, you are obviously going to give them a different reading than if they just found human design. Because there's so much you can tell them. Personally, what I enjoy doing is sending people little pieces of like YouTube video, or maybe there's this private Vimeo video, because I keep my education videos on private under, behind a paywall. When it comes to some things are not for public view. Other things are, this is for you if you really want to make the most of your time with me. So I prefer working with people who have at least some level of the knowledge to where they're not completely blanking or, tech terminology is going right over their head when I'm talking to them. So I try to prepare them ahead of time. I will send them their chart. I will send them some videos, or my assistant will anyway. And that's the way that I like to work. Now, in the beginning, I would send them straight to my bodygraph.com, Jovian Archives layperson software, and say, hey, go listen to Type Strategy and Authority. It's all free. Let them be able to run thousands of charts. My assistants ran thousands of charts to be able to get them to that place where we could have a great conversation, because I'm conversational in my analysis work. You might not be. You might not want to have that question answer dance going on because you don't, that's just not how you work. So maybe you prefer to get recorded readings out to people. custom recorded readings. We do both as far as what I offer, what we offer, what's going to work best for you. If English is not your first language, ideally, then you might like it all written out along with videos. And that's another way, presentations, that we can do this work and take them through all of the processes. Some people, they just write out, some notes, and then they'll speak to that person with their analysis.